And well, joining us to talk a little bit more about the situation currently in Israel and Gaza is Arsen Ostrowski, who joins us from Tel Aviv, who is the international human rights lawyer and a political analyst as well. And Arsen Ostrowski, thanks very much for talking to us this evening. Can you tell us what is the current situation? Has the violence abated?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Look, first of all, the violence has not abated. And just to give you a little bit of an update by way of your introduction, there's actually been now a total of at least over 500 rockets fired in the last 24 hours. So there's been at least another 300 rockets fired today alone, and it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. There really hasn't been any sign of the rockets abating. There have been further Israeli casualties. There have been 3 more deaths today, which takes a total to 4 casualties all up, at least. And there are hundreds that are injured, that are being treated in hospitals. And we can tell you also that many schools in the south have been closed, over 200,000 kids that are staying at home. Hundreds of thousands of families are basically fleeing to bomb shelters where they have basically about 15 seconds to reach. But to put that in context, perhaps for your viewers, at the moment there's about 1 million Israelis that are within the firing range of these rockets. Now, 1 million Israelis is about 10 or 11% of the population. 10 or 11% of India's population, that's 150 million people. So to put in context exactly the unbearable barrage of rockets that Israel is facing, that no country can tolerate.
Well, absolutely. 500 rockets is a huge number of rockets being fired. And of course, you are also telling us now, informing us that the number of dead has risen now substantially. But are there evacuations then taking place? The fact, as you're pointing out, that over 1 million people are in the line of fire here. But also we're picking up that across the border there have been several deaths as well, including one of a mother, a pregnant woman, and her 14-year-old niece. 14-month-old niece, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, look, I mean, I wanted to actually touch on that as well because it's very important. It's a horrible, terrible tragedy, but investigations actually from the Israeli side, including from the IDF and other sources, have since confirmed that, as a matter of fact, as horrible as it was, the mother and the child died as a direct result of Hamas and Islamic Jihad fire that misfired and actually killed them instead. So that wasn't rocket fire from Israel. That's been confirmed. There was actually rocket fire from Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad that misfired, and the rocket actually hit within Gaza and killed them. So that was a horrible, obviously tragedy, but I think it's important to note that correction.
All right, okay. Now, Mr. Ostrowski, now why are we seeing this kind of an escalation after, weeks of relative calm in the last couple of days? What's been happening in the last 48 hours or so in the lead up to this?
Look, I mean, there's any number of possibilities, but I think 2 in particular. One, the Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, Israel's supposed partners for peace, are in the middle of negotiations for a unity coalition at the moment, which have been in negotiations for some time. And Hamas at the moment is in a weaker position than they've been for a long time in terms of their funding, in terms of their strength, in terms of we saw a number of protests on the ground from people in Gaza, which is unheard of, which were quite ruthlessly put down by the Hamas authorities in Gaza. So on the one hand, it is a play for power for them. On the other hand, and also I think equally important, is the matter of Eurovision, one of the world's largest song contests, which will be in Israel, in Tel Aviv, very shortly. And Hamas and the Palestinian terrorists are very well aware that the world's media attention will be very much focused here on Israel. And in other words, it's an opportunity for them to make a play and to essentially to try and extort Israel in order to increase their hand.
All right. And we're also picking up, of course, news that Turkey says that its news agency has been attacked inside Palestine, and also the fact that there was some sort of a negotiation that was, being undertaken or brokered rather by Egypt. What's happened to that in all of this?
Look, in regards to your second point, as far as Israel is concerned, there is no ceasefire. Negotiations, certainly not as long as rockets are being rained down on Israeli civilians. And if there was to be a any kind of ceasefire, certainly we would need to see a prolonged period of quiet, of no rockets being fired. But at this stage, there is no credible evidence that a ceasefire is in place, or despite some reports, is being negotiated.
Okay, so you're saying, yes.
I'm not sure if you can hear me right now. Can you hear that?
Yes, I can hear you, certainly.
Okay, no. What you can hear right now is the red alert sounding, which is what I wanted to show you. I have my phone on at the moment, and if you can hear that.
Yes.
Okay, that noise right now is the red alert siren going off. It's not in the vicinity where I am, but it's going off right now, I can tell you, along Israel's southern border with Gaza, so that means more rockets are being fired literally right now as we're speaking live.
Right, so Mr. Arsen Ostrowski, if that means that you need to go, then we are not going to hold you back anymore if you need to go to a shelter or be safe. But also, just to wrap up...
It's right now where I am, I'm quite safe for the time being, but rest assured, as surreal as it is, if I do need to, I will go. But where I'm now,
right.
we're
Right. So let me then just wrap up this by asking you, Prime Minister Netanyahu, of course, came back to power saying that there would be a more muscular policy towards Palestine. Is that one of the reasons why we are seeing this escalation possibly as well? Even as you say, there can be no deal being brokered with the Hamas unless there is a long, sustained ceasefire.
Look, I mean, what Netanyahu said before the elections, I don't think that's in any way a precursor to what is happening now. The attack started a couple of days ago when actually Hamas snipers on the Gaza side shot at Israeli soldiers. That's where this really started only, 2-3 days ago. I think it was on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. As a response to those sniper attacks, the IDF and Israel attacked those Hamas targets, and the following day, we then saw Hamas commence their bombardment of rockets. So I think it's important to get that chronology very much in order. But the Hamas, it's an opportunity to try and extort Israel during this time. But Israel's made very clear that we will not allow our citizens to be hostage to the terror. No country, not Israel, not India, no country in the world can tolerate such wanton acts of violence, terror and aggression. And like any other country, Israel shall do whatever necessary to defend its citizens.
Well, Arsen Ostrowski, international human rights lawyer and political analyst, thanks very much indeed for joining us live from Tel Aviv in Israel and sharing your perspective in the latest...